Every man walks through life surrounded by unseen forces, not the winds or storms of the world, but the surging tides within his own heart. Anger, fear, envy, pride, they whisper, they shout, they pull. And most men, unaware, become their slaves. They speak words they later regret, make decisions clouded by heat, and drift aimlessly through life, blaming others for the chaos that begins within. But the truth stands firm for those willing to see. The man who cannot govern his emotions can never govern his destiny. He may possess knowledge, talent, even opportunity, but if his temper rules him, if his doubt slows him, if his bitterness blinds him, he builds his life on sand. Power belongs to the one who remains calm while others panic, steady while others stumble, focused while others fall. Emotional control is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. It is the foundation upon which all success, peace, and leadership are built. To control your emotions is to take hold of the steering wheel of life. It is to stop reacting and start choosing. The moment you command your inner world, the outer world bends to your will. That is the beginning of true freedom. There comes a time in every life when a man must stop running not from the world, but from himself. He must face the truth that the greatest war is not fought with others, but within his own soul. The noise of life is nothing compared to the noise in the mind, and until he learns to master that noise, peace will be a stranger, and greatness will remain just out of reach. Most people believe that emotions are problems, that anger must be buried, that fear is weakness, that sadness is failure. They grow up being told to suppress, to deny, to ignore the waves that rise within them. But here lies the misunderstanding that has kept millions from their potential. Emotions are not the enemy. They are not curses, they are not obstacles, they are signals, they are power waiting to be directed. The fire that burns your house down is the same fire that warms your home. The difference is mastery. To master the mind is to become aware, not just of what you think, but of why you think it. Not just of how you feel, but what those feelings are trying to show you. Every emotion has a root. Anger often masks hurt. Fear protects dreams you haven't admitted you care about. Jealousy points to areas where you've neglected your own growth. But the average man reacts. He yells when he should listen. He withdraws when he should step forward. He blames others for what is rising inside of him. But the wise man observes before he acts. He feels everything, but he chooses which emotion deserves his voice, his energy, his time. He uses emotion like a sculptor uses his chisel not to destroy, but to shape. The mind becomes his workshop, and emotion becomes his raw material. No empire was ever built without emotional mastery. No invention, no business, no dream has ever been achieved by a man constantly at war with himself. The man who cannot control his temper loses allies. The one who gives in to fear avoids risk and rots in mediocrity. The one who cannot handle stress folds under pressure. It is not the world that defeats you, it is your own response to the world. When you master your mind, you become free, free from the opinions of others, free from the prison of reaction, free to think clearly, act boldly, and stand firm when everything around you shakes. Emotional mastery is not about becoming cold or robotic. It is about becoming deeply alive but guided, like a river with banks, like fire in a lantern. Your emotion fuels your mission, but your mind keeps it on course. You must begin by watching yourself. The next time anger rises, pause, do not speak, do not strike, observe, ask what fear lies beneath this flame. What truth am I avoiding? When fear creeps in, do not run, sit with it, see it, ask, what opportunity am I afraid to face? What part of me doubts my own strength? That question alone begins to loosen the chains that have bound you for years. Discipline of thought leads to discipline of action, and when your actions are rooted not in impulse but in clarity, your life begins to shift. You no longer apologize for who you are, because you know exactly who you are becoming. You no longer seek approval, because your mission is louder than the applause. You no longer get lost in regret or consumed by anxiety, because your mind has become your strongest ally. This kind of control is not about pretending. It's not about smiling through pain or suppressing your truth. It's about choosing your response with intention. It's about understanding that pain is a teacher, not a master. That joy is a gift, not a goal. That emotion is a visitor. You greet it. You learn from it, but you do not let it take your house. You will be tested. Life will poke at your weak spots. People will push your buttons. Circumstances will challenge your limits, but in these moments you are being trained, forged. Each test is a chance to rise above, to respond with power, not panic. Each trial is an invitation to step into the role of a leader, not a victim. Mastering the mind is not a one-time event. It is a daily decision, a conscious choice to rise above what is easy and do what is necessary. You become the commander of your internal world, and in doing so, you change your external world. For the man who can stand tall in the middle of emotional chaos, the world holds no threat. So you must decide, will you remain a passenger in your own life, pushed and pulled by every emotional wave, or will you become the captain of your ship, charting your course with vision, discipline, and calm power? The time for excuses has ended. The time for mastery has begun. Your emotions are not the enemy. They are the key. And when you learn to master them, you unlock a version of yourself that cannot be shaken, cannot be manipulated, and cannot be stopped. There is a quiet power that separates the weak from the strong, the lost from the focused, the ordinary from the truly great. It does not roar. It does not shout. It does not beg for attention. It operates in silence, in stillness, in control. It is emotional discipline. It is the strength to feel everything and yet not be ruled by anything. It is the ability to transform raw reaction into calculated response, chaos into clarity, noise into purpose. Every human being is born with emotion. Anger, fear, desire, love, these are the inner currents that move our lives forward. But most men do not understand what to do with this power. They allow themselves to be yanked around like puppets on the strings of emotion. Someone insults them and they explode. A door closes and they collapse. A fear appears and they run. They call this living, but it is not. It is surviving. It is reacting. And as long as you are reacting, you are not choosing. And as long as you are not choosing, you are not in control. And if you are not in control, your life is not yours. To rise above the reactive life is to step into mastery. It begins with awareness. You must first see yourself, not the image you show the world, but the truth beneath it. What triggers you? What shakes your calm? What fears sit under your anger? When you begin to observe these patterns, you take the first step toward freedom. You can no longer be tricked by your own reactions because you see them as they are not commands but invitations. Not facts but feelings, and feelings, while real, are not always true. A man on the path to greatness learns that the pause between stimulus and response is sacred. In that pause, power is born. In that breath, before you speak, before you act, before you fall into the trap, that is where you decide who you will be. Will you be the slave of circumstance, or will you be the master of self? The reactive man is like a leaf in the wind. Wherever the breeze blows, he follows. The disciplined man is the tree-rooted, unmoved, present. He feels the wind. He does not ignore it, but he is not carried by it. He responds with intention, and intention is the force that builds empires, restores peace, saves relationships, and drives dreams into reality. This strength is not taught in schools. It is not written on certificates, but it is visible in the lives of those who have built something enduring. The leader who keeps his cool in crisis. The mother who listens instead of yelling. The fighter who stays calm under pressure. the entrepreneur who risks failure without flinching. These are not people who feel less, they simply command more. They do not waste energy on noise. They do not drain themselves with drama. They have learned the art of using emotion without being used by it. And what does this emotional control bring? Clarity, energy, focus. When you stop reacting, you start directing. Your mind becomes a tool, not a trap. Your emotions become signals, not chains. You do not waste your mornings stuck in yesterday's anger. You do not sabotage your future with today's fear. You begin to build with purpose, and that building is what separates the dreamers from the doers. It must be said, emotional control is not suppression. It is not denial. It is not about pretending to be unaffected. It is about choice. It is about letting yourself feel without letting yourself be ruled. You may feel fear, but you take the step anyway. You may feel anger, but you respond with wisdom. You may feel doubt, but you move with faith. This is not weakness. This is strength in its highest form. The world is full of noise. It wants to provoke you, offend you, shake you. But the man who has mastered his emotional world is unshakable. He does not react to every insult. He does not crumble at every disappointment. He walks forward with a quiet fire, not because he feels nothing, but because he knows exactly what deserves his energy. He chooses his battles. He invests his time where it matters. He does not prove himself to anyone. His results speak for him. And let it be known, this mastery is not built overnight. It is forged in fire. You will fail. You will react when you shouldn't. You will regret words spoken in heat. But each mistake is a lesson. Each stumble is a test. The path to emotional control is not a straight road, it is a climb. But the higher you go, the clearer the view. And one day, when the storm comes and everyone else panics, you will stand calm. Not because you are special, but because you trained. You practiced, you chose control over chaos, response over reaction, power over panic. So take the challenge, observe your patterns, study your emotions, learn what moves you, what breaks you, what drives you. Then claim the space between feeling and action, stretch that space, own that space, and in it become the author of your life. From reaction to power, this is not just a phrase, it is a way of life. And the moment you embrace it, you no longer chase greatness, you become it. The foundation of a powerful life is not built on luck, talent, or even intelligence. It is built on stability, not the kind given by circumstance, but the kind forged within. The world is full of unpredictable storms. People disappoint, plans fall apart, pressure builds, but the man who is emotionally unshakable stands like a mountain amid the winds of chaos. He does not flinch. He does not collapse. He does not surrender to the noise. Why? Because he has built a life that responds, not one that reacts. Reaction is easy. It is automatic. It is the default setting of the undisciplined. A word is spoken and anger flies out. A challenge appears and fear takes over. A failure happens and self-doubt floods the mind. This is how most live, tossed back and forth by every emotional wave, slaves to whatever mood happens to rise in the moment. There is no power in reaction, only regret, only damage, only wasted energy, but response is intentional, it is deliberate, it is the art of pausing, breathing, thinking, choosing, it is a skill. And like every skill, it can be developed by anyone willing to practice. The difference between those who break and those who build is not emotion. It is control over emotion. The emotionally unshakable man is not numb. He feels deeply. He may even feel more than others, but he governs what he does with those feelings. He doesn't let anger burn bridges. He doesn't let fear shrink dreams. He doesn't let envy poison relationships. He uses every emotion as fuel, not fire. To respond is to lead. The leader responds to pressure with clarity, not panic. The visionary responds to failure with learning, not despair. The champion responds to pain with endurance, not excuses. In every area of life, business, relationships, health, purpose, those who succeed are not those who feel nothing, but those who master what they feel. You must begin by looking within. Ask yourself honestly, where do you react? What emotions control you? Do you lash out when criticized? Do you shut down when afraid? Do you overthink when uncertain? These are signs, not of weakness, but of opportunity. Every trigger is a teacher. Every reaction is a lesson waiting to be learned. If you are willing to sit with your discomfort, listen to it, study it, you can transform it into your greatest weapon. The key to becoming emotionally unshakable is not perfection. It is awareness. When you become aware of what you feel without being dominated by it, you gain access to the strongest part of yourself. You create space, space to observe, space to breathe, space to choose. And in that space, your future is born. Responding requires discipline. It means taking ownership of your inner world. It means deciding that no one else is responsible for your peace, your attitude, your energy. It means refusing to be manipulated by other people's chaos. And most of all, it means being strong enough to choose wisdom when emotion begs for reaction. There will be times when the temptation to react will be overwhelming. You will be provoked, you will be misunderstood, you will be hurt, but these moments are your training ground. They are your opportunity to step into your higher self, to prove not to others but to yourself that you are in control, that your emotions are not your master. You are, and let it be known, when you respond instead of react, you do not lose power, you gain it. The one who stays calm in conflict wins influence. The one who listens instead of interrupts gains respect. The one who thinks before acting earns trust. These are the true currencies of leadership. These are the qualities that elevate a life from average to exceptional. You cannot stop the world from throwing storms your way, but you can decide how you face them. You can be the eye of the storm, calm, focused, immovable, and the more you choose to respond, the stronger you become. What once shook you now sharpens you. What once broke you now builds you. This does not happen by accident. It happens by decision, by choosing every day to train your mind, to manage your state, to respond with purpose, and the more you do this, the more emotional wealth you build. You gain patience, resilience, wisdom, strength. You become the kind of person others look to when things fall apart because you are the one who does not. And what happens when you build a life like this? You gain freedom. You are no longer controlled by other people's moods. You are no longer at the mercy of external events. You walk with confidence, not because life is easy, but because you are ready. You carry peace in chaos, clarity in confusion, courage in fear. So ask yourself today, will you live as a slave to your reactions, or as a master of your responses? Will you continue to let emotions run wild, or will you channel them like a focused beam of power? Will you fall apart under pressure or rise above it? The choice is yours, but make no mistake, the quality of your life depends on it. Build the emotional strength that nothing can shake, and in doing so, you will build a life that no storm can destroy. Every man is born with a storm inside him, a whirlwind of emotion, desire, fear, frustration, ambition, and pain. This storm is not a flaw, it is not a curse, it is power in its rawest form, but like all power, it can either build or destroy. It can fuel your rise, or it can burn down everything you've worked to create. The difference lies in one choice, whether you let the storm control you, or you learn to harness it. Emotional chaos is part of life. No one escapes it. At some point, you will feel like you're drowning in your own feelings. Your plans will fail, people will betray you, fear will grip you, and confusion will try to paralyze you. But understand this, the storm is not your enemy. The storm is your invitation. It's life's way of saying, *, there is more in you than you know. Will you face it? Will you master it? Most people run from the storm within. They try to silence their feelings with distraction, endless entertainment, false pleasures, or shallow routines. Others allow the storm to run wild, reacting with rage, crumbling in despair, or making decisions clouded by emotion. But neither path leads to power. True strength comes from facing the storm, standing in the center of it, and choosing to command it instead of being consumed by it. To harness the storm within is to understand that emotion is energy, and energy, when directed, becomes force. Anger, when disciplined, becomes fuel for change. Fear, when understood, sharpens preparation. Sadness, when honored, deepens wisdom. Even chaos, when channeled, becomes creativity. But this transformation doesn't happen by accident, it happens by awareness. The first step is to become an observer of your emotions, not a slave to them. When you feel something powerful rise inside, frustration, jealousy, rage, despair, do not react. Pause, watch, ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Where is it coming from? What am I avoiding, and what am I being pushed to confront? This pause is the gateway to clarity. In that space between reaction and response, you claim back your power. The man who masters his inner world becomes unshakable in the outer world. He is not cold or detached, he is focused. His emotions do not vanish, but they serve him instead of sabotage him. He can speak with intensity without losing his temper. He can feel deeply without drowning in sadness. He can walk through fear without letting it dictate his decisions. This is the mark of a true leader, not one who escapes emotion, but one who rides its current with purpose. You will face moments when everything inside you feels chaotic. When your thoughts are racing, your chest is tight, and your clarity is clouded. These are not moments of defeat. These are moments of rebirth. The storm is not here to destroy you, it is here to reveal you, to show you where you are still reactive, where you are still wounded, where you are still holding back. And more importantly, to show you how much strength still lies dormant within. Learn to use the storm, write when you feel overwhelmed, reflect when you feel angry, move your body when anxiety rises. Breathe deeply when panic knocks at your door. The tools are simple, but the discipline to use them is rare, and that is why few rise, not because they don't have the power, but because they never learned to channel it. Emotional clarity is not the absence of feeling. It is the ability to see through the feeling. It is the skill of standing firm while the winds rage and asking, what do I need to do now, not based on panic, but based on purpose. That question alone separates those who lead from those who follow, those who create from those who complain. Make no mistake, mastering the storm within is a lifetime journey. You will fall. You will overreact. You will lose your center at times, but every time you return, every time you pause instead of explode, reflect instead of blame, act with purpose instead of impulse, you build the muscle of mastery. And eventually, your storm becomes your strength. Others will notice. They'll see how you remain calm under pressure, how you handle criticism without collapsing, how you move forward even when uncertain. They'll call it confidence, they'll call it wisdom, but you'll know what it truly is: command over the chaos, not because life is easier for you, but because you have decided to respond to it with clarity instead of confusion. Your emotions are part of your human experience. They are not meant to be eliminated, they are meant to be refined. They are the instruments through which your deepest self speaks. But just like any instrument, they require tuning. Precision, practice. You would not give a wild horse free rein through a crowded city, nor should you let your untrained emotions dictate the course of your life. You were not born to react like everyone else. You were born to lead first yourself, then others, and leadership begins within. It begins by turning your emotional storm into focused power, by choosing clarity over chaos, stillness over noise, purpose over panic. This is your task, This is your calling. Harness the storm within. Don't fear it. Don't suppress it. Don't run from it. Stand inside it, command it, and let it drive you not toward destruction, but toward your destiny. For the man who turns his chaos into clarity becomes unstoppable not because the storm no longer exists, but because it now moves at his command. Every battle you face in life, whether in business, relationships, health, or purpose, begins in one place, your own mind. The world may present 1,000 challenges, but none are as persistent, as personal, or as powerful as the war that rages within, the war of doubt against belief, of fear against action, of anger against understanding, of chaos against clarity, and unless you learn to win this war, every victory outside will be temporary, and every defeat will feel permanent. The fiercest enemy is not the competitor across the boardroom table or the critic behind the screen. It is the undisciplined emotion within you, that voice that screams when you should stay silent, that panic that rushes in when pressure rises, that bitterness that grows when you're misunderstood, that hesitation that speaks when courage is required. Until you master this part of yourself, you are not truly free no matter how much money you earn, how many people praise you, or how much success you collect. Emotional discipline is not about feeling less. It is about choosing to rule over what you feel. The man who has trained his emotions does not explode when insulted. He does not retreat when afraid. He does not act blindly when angered. Instead, he responds with precision, with power, with patience, and because of that, he builds things that last while others destroy what they love in a moment of weakness. To win the war inside is to become the commander of your inner world. And make no mistake, your emotions, when mastered, become weapons of greatness. Anger becomes drive, fear becomes preparation, sadness becomes reflection, joy becomes momentum. But when left unchecked, those same emotions become chains pulling you into regret, into shame, into emotional slavery. Most people are ruled by how they feel in the moment. They speak without thinking. They quit without considering. They lash out, shut down, blame, complain, all because they have never been taught the value of emotional command. They think strength is about volume or about control over others. But true strength is invisible. It is the strength to feel something powerful, rage, fear, sorrow, and not be controlled by it. To act with wisdom in a storm of emotion is the mark of a disciplined mind. Training emotional discipline is a lifelong process. It begins the moment you realize your emotions are signals, not commands. Feelings are not facts. They are information like fire. Fire can cook your meal or burn down your home. It depends on whether it is managed. Your anger may be valid, but will you channel it or let it consume you? Your fear may be reasonable, but will you face it or let it shrink your life? There will come a time, perhaps many, when you will be tested. Someone will betray you. A goal will fall apart. A loss will shake your soul. In that moment, your emotions will rise like a tide. You will feel the urge to scream, to break, to run. That is your battlefield. That is where the war is won or lost. Will you let the emotion steer your ship, or will you take the wheel and lead through the storm? Winning the war inside gives you clarity in chaos. It gives you strength when everything seems uncertain. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop blaming and start building. You stop chasing control over others and begin mastering control over self. And that shift changes everything. In leadership, emotional discipline is what separates the admired from the avoided. In relationships, it's what allows love to grow instead of being crushed under ego. In business, it's what keeps decisions smart instead of scattered. And in your personal development, it's what allows consistent progress instead of self-sabotage. The man who cannot master his emotions is like a king with no walls around his castle. Every insult becomes an invasion. Every doubt becomes a disaster. Every setback becomes surrender, but the man who rules his emotions builds invisible walls of power. He can be criticized and stay calm. He can lose and still move forward. He can feel pain and not let it poison his mission. This does not mean you become cold or robotic. On the contrary, emotional discipline deepens your humanity. You learn to empathize instead of argue, to listen instead of judge, to stay focused when others are distracted. You become the kind of person others trust not because you're always happy, but because you are consistent, calm, centered. You bring peace, not pressure, strength, not storm. You do not win the war inside once. You win it daily, in the morning when you choose intention over impulse, in the afternoon when frustration knocks and you answer with grace, at night when your mind replays mistakes and you respond with understanding instead of shame. These small, quiet victories, invisible to the world, shape your destiny more than anything loud or dramatic. Eventually, you become someone different, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. You respond to hardship with hunger. You face fear with faith. You channel emotion like electricity, lighting up everything you touch instead of burning it down. So decide now, not later. Will you be ruled by the storm within, or will you rise above it? Will you continue to live at the mercy of your emotions, or will you forge the discipline to master them? This choice defines the life you build, the legacy you leave, and the peace you carry inside. Emotional discipline is not just your greatest weapon, it is your foundation. With it, you can lead, love, create, and endure. Without it, even your greatest moments will be fragile. So win the war inside. Start today. Train your responses. Study your triggers. Guard your peace. And build a life from the inside out that nothing and no one can shake. The war inside is the only war that truly matters, for every victory in life begins with mastery over self. When you discipline your emotions, you reclaim your power, no longer swayed by chaos, no longer ruled by fear. You become steady in storms, clear in confusion, and bold in uncertainty. This is the strength that builds empires, heals relationships, and carries vision through fire. So choose today to lead yourself first. Train the mind, master the feeling, and command your course. For the man who wins the war within becomes unstoppable not by force, but by unwavering self-control.